Coming up in about an hour, the great WFAN legend Joe Beningo will come on and talk about the Willie Mays memories. But you told me this, talking about the Jews. You said the Jewish people specifically loved Willie Mays, and I said, why?
Oh, let me tell you something. First off, you got to understand the divide, the Harlem River. On the Bronx side was Yankee Stadium, cross the bridge, you're in the Polo Grounds. The Jews outside of Brooklyn loved the New York Giants. Loved it because they looked at the New York Yankees as sort of the team of the Wasps.
Yeah, I felt like the Jews, and you were there, I wasn't, loved the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yes, but it depended on where you lived in the five boroughs. But a lot of Jews, especially up in Washington Heights, which you guys had colonized. You had the Greeks in the middle, the Irish in High Bridge. You had all the Jews on the west side. They've come back as the Orthodox because you have Yeshiva University there. Oh, they love Willie Mays. They love the Polo Grounds. My first game I ever saw, in fact, 62, was the Mets. Casey Stengel, the New York Mets out there. I saw Ed Kranepool get his very first hit coming right out of Monroe High School. Right out of high school. He was a great hitter. But Willie Mays, I was introduced to Willie Mays. The All-Star games. From 59 to 62, there were 2 All-Star games a year because they tried to raise money for the Players' Pension Fund because the cheap owners were throwing nickels around like manhole covers. When you saw Willie play, because it was hard to watch Willie out in Candlestick Park. First of all, it's like there was a tornado out there all the time. Yeah. It was wet. It was foggy. It was the worst baseball stadium. But in the All-Star games, he dominated. He'd get on first, steal second, steal third. Yeah. The pitcher was distracted. He's in the outfield. He's making basket catches. He's like whirling, throwing. You said, my God. And actually was matched up against Mickey Mantle in those years.
Yes, and Duke Snyder, too.
Come on.
Really, Mickey, yes.
Hey, remember, Duke was relegated to doing commercials for Grecian Formula.
He
remember?
Did do that,
I'm
yes.
an avocado farmer in California. Maybe you know me as Duke Snyder. No comparison to Mickey and Willie. But Willie was phenomenal. And then I'm a kid. It's 1962. It's Game 7. I got my Sony transistor radio with all the other kids were listening.
That's the San Francisco Giants against the Yankees in the World Series.
It's Game 7. There were 13 days in between. It was raining on the West Coast, raining on the East Coast. Game 7. Guess who was scheduled to be pitching for the Yankees? Jim Bouton. But they pulled him out. They said, we got to go with our ace, Ralph Terry. And I'm saying to myself, in 60, he pitched the 7th game, and Bill Mazeroski hit a home run over the ivory walls there in Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, where Yogi Berra, number 8, was watching it go over the Pollock. Mazeroski won it for the Pirates in 7.
Which basically, Mazeroski was a tremendous defensive player at second base. He was not a good offensive player. He never should have made the Hall of Fame. But that one home run you're talking about was the one hit that put Bill Mazeroski in the Hall of Fame.
And remember, that was the ground ball that hit Tony Kubek right in the throat, almost killed him. His Adam's apple went almost to his way. So now it's 62. I'm listening with all the other kids when I'm paying attention to the teacher. It's the 9th inning. Felipe Alou comes up. Remember, with Matty Alou, Jesus Alou from the Dominican Republic.
The 3 Alou brothers and their son, Moises Alou, became a great player for the Montreal Expos and won a World Series with the Florida Marlins.
And I always said, you can't call him Jesus Alou. I crossed that off on my Topps baseball card. That was like a violation of cat. He can't be called. No, it's Jesus. It's Jesus. So anyway, he gets a base hit. Then the next 2 batters are struck out. Matty Alou is struck out. I forget the guy who followed. Willie Mays is up. He hits a scorcher in the right field corner. It's a double, right? But Roger Maris takes it, chromes it off the wall, and throws a bullet. And Felipe Alou doesn't dare try to go home. Maris had a gun. So now who's up? Willie McCovey. Should they walk him to make it bases loaded for Orlando Cepeda? No. They say pitch to McCovey.
Struck him out.
No. He hits a liner so hard. He said it was the hardest liner he ever hit. And Bobby Richardson snares it.
End of the World Series.
And the Yankees win.
Bobby Richardson, that was a big play at third base.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, if not for Roger Maris, it would have been tied.
Oh, you're probably right.
Would have been tied.
You never talked about Maris's arm. I mean, obviously the home run season that Aaron Judge broke a couple of years ago. But you're right. He had a gun like Dave Parker out there.
But
a gun.
Willie Mays, like Joe DiMaggio, like Mickey Mantle, miserable. They were the three greatest athletes that you would talk about in center field. But all of them seemed to be upset.
Well, you know what's funny about that is his nephew, who some still think is the greatest hitter ever. Greatest hitter ever, steroids or not, Barry Bonds, was also miserable. Barry Bonds was also miserable, and he is Willie Mays' nephew. And so considered by some as the
Bobby
best.
Bonds was miserable, too. I don't
Bobby
know. Maybe it was
too.
in their DNA. But anyway, great. And I met him one time in Riverdale, not far from when the Russians were spying on everybody. They had their consulate there. I said, Willie, I'm the stickball commissioner of New York City. Because remember, he was known to play stickball with the kids outside of the polo grounds.
All the time.
He looked at me like Drek.
Yeah, he wanted no part of you. Yeah.
No part of me. I was like, oh, my God. First, Mantle did it to me. Now, Willie Mays. I was crushed.
Some of that was the way he was treated, too. Because, as I told you earlier, Mark Healy did a good job of this in his book. When the Giants, moved from New York to San Francisco, he got out to San Francisco. Don't forget, you mentioned him. The center fielder that the San Francisco people loved always was Joe DiMaggio.
There you go.
Right, he grew up there. And then they loved McCovey, they loved Cepeda, because they felt like Willie Mays was not one of theirs. Willie came from New York. McCovey, Cepeda, those were their guys. So they never really treated Willie Mays nicely in San Francisco. That may have led to some of the reason why he turned out to be a prick. I don't know.
And remember, in order for the Giants to get into that World Series, they had to win a playoff 3 games against the Dodgers.
Yes.
With Koufax, Drysdale. And remember Juan Marichal with Johnny Roseboro with that Dominican temper. Took the bat and boom, clubbed him in the head.
Right.
But we didn't get a chance to watch those West Coast games, remember?
Yeah. Well, I don't remember. I was born in 1967, but I know you couldn't watch those games.
Nothing about it.